Welcome back, everybody. We are here for the European SCL Relegations, set number 3. And this is the one everyone's been waiting for, Taco. It's the two teams that should have a natural rivalry. Team XL versus Team Excellence.
Well, you've got to hand it to these two. I mean, I feel at one hand, Excellence might feel like they have the edge, you know, a little bit of a longer name.
A little bit, yep.
A little bit of a longer name that automatically gives some kind of a
couple
lead,
extra
right?
syllables in there, yeah, a little bit. It's basically the same name, but just with a couple extra letters. But sometimes you want to have a little bit shorter of a name. It's a little bit easier to fit into those ever-important gamer tags. You know, you got to get those in there on the console. I know all about that struggle. Let's get right into picks and bans in set number 3 here, or game number 3, I should say. All of these just being best of ones, no best of 2s or best of 3s to really talk home about. So it's very, very important to make sure that you're winning these games up against the teams that you're expected to beat, because otherwise, with only having a few number of games, you could really drop pretty quickly in this relegation process.
Point system is really going to come in clutch for these teams, and in a best-of-1 scenario, anything can go. So you can probably expect a lot of janky strategies, teams trying to utilize as much to their advantage as possible. And if it means a couple unconventional picks, I'm sure that the risk is possibly worth the reward, considering you only get one shot.
Gonna have to find out here in set number 3. I believe both these teams 0-1 at this stage, so both teams really needing to make sure they pick up a victory. With only 4 teams here, if you lose, if you go down 0-2, you aren't out, but you're pretty close to out without being officially eliminated. A bunch of junglers off the board early on here. Serket, Susano, the bans for Excel. Ratatosk going to be taken away by Excellence. And the Zeus, the lone mage ban there, Excel immediately going to pick up a mid-mage of their own in Poseidon.
Very standard jungle bans coming out, and a large portion of that is probably due to the fact that those are a little bit easier as far as setup and convention style goes. Poseidon is a really interesting pick, considering he's got the cripple effect, which is already heavily utilized in a lot of these teamfight scenarios. But Sylvanus and Cabrakan, two very strong picks coming out on the side of Team Excellence for that early game advantage.
Double Guardian early on here for Excellence, and Cabrakan not going to be as affected nearly as much by the slow from Whirlpool, having that slow immunity on his first ability. Love the picks coming out of the team with the longer name. Bacchus and Ullr are going to be the 2 selections. Love this Bacchus pick because of how much setup it brings for characters that like both Poseidon and Ullr. Guaranteeing an axe, guaranteeing your Whirlpool to get that first tick can be very, very impactful.
Not just the setup either. If you notice, Excellence opting for the Sylvanus and Chang'e, so they're looking at a sustain-oriented comp, and Bacchus having the natural anti-heal in his kit off of his belch. That'll be strong for XL to potentially use to their advantage.
That's a great point. Chang'e, of course, the popular counter pick these days for Poseidon in the middle lane, using that Moonlit Waltz to get out of that Kraken. So gonna have to wait and see if the mid laner for Excellence can time that ability. Gotta be pretty patient, especially when up against a character like Bacchus, because you know that XL is gonna try and force that out, those immunity frames on the stun from Bacchus, on the hail of arrows from Ullr, and just wait on that Kraken. Huyi going to be the selection here for Excellence, trying to get a little bit of boxing potential and really accentuate their AoE team composition, because they don't really have a lot as of right now, but Huyi definitely helps in that regard.
Not to mention that with Huyi, there's a lot of setup coming out potentially for Team Excellence. If they trap anybody in that Cabrakan ultimate, chain that in with the Sylvanus ult, a Chang'e ult, and then the Huyi ultimate, massive AoE and a lot of control. So Excellence probably going to be looking for those team fights in the jungle area early on.
Ravana going to be the last selection. Hercules v Ravana we haven't seen a whole lot of early on here in Season 4, though we have seen plenty of Hercules. Both these teams have quite a bit of setup, a little bit of a better, both teams actually have excellent frontline as you go down the list. I mean, Fenrir can play a very nice role of initiator / frontliner in the later stages of the game, really relying on that base damage to carry him through in terms of damage. But as we get into game, Taco, both of these teams seem to have really heavy frontline style of compositions.
A lot of the damage for Excel, I think they're trying to provide mostly peel for the Poseidon and Ullr to really try and shine in these team fight scenarios, because like you mentioned, there is a ton of setup and frontline, so it'll be very back and forth, I'd imagine, between these two compositions, and it's really going to come down to who gets the better team fight overall.
The one thing that I'm looking at in Excellence's composition, though, that they are lacking in terms of that Excel really isn't, is damage to punch through that front line. I mean, you've got the Kraken on the side of Excel. Ullr excellent at shredding tanks because he can lock them down fairly easily. And we saw on the PC side of things, ALG drafted a composition with Chang'e in the mid lane, and they had a little bit of trouble punching through the front line of their opposition in Luminosity in that set. Do you think that that could be a problem here for Excellence, or do you think they have enough damage across the board?
It depends on how the Chang'e determines and decides to build. If she opts for the more sustain-oriented with like a Rod of Asclepius, maybe the Dynasty Plate Helm coming through, sure, her damage might be a little bit lackluster in the early game, but if she opts to pick up a couple of damage items early on, she could find herself in a very safe position. And we see the Sylvanus actually starting in the mid lane to try and help out that Chang'e with her weaker clear into this Fenrir Poseidon composition early on.
Well, it doesn't matter because XL are still going to get a little bit of extra push power, though not by much. Maloaise actually picking up this Ravana in the jungle. I kind of assumed that Cabrakan was going to be in the jungle and Ravana in the solo lane, but no, it's going to be Maloaise on this warrior in the jungle. Do you think Ravana has a spot in the jungle, or would you have rather seen him in solo?
It's a little bit more awkward trying to put that Ravana into a jungle role, considering that, sure, he has the early fighting potential, but at the same time, Ravana's one of those characters that's notorious for falling off a bit when it comes to the later stages of the mid and the late game team fights, so he could find a little bit of difficulties, but he does have immunity, and Chang'e actually looking to take the first spill, but the Sylvanus heal is going to be more than enough to keep her alive.
The shell as well, paying big dividends there for CobbY out of that Sylvanus, just able to save his mid laner's life from that first blood. Nice use of that relic choice. You can see for Olliieee on the other side, he's not gone for the shell, the meditation instead. So even though you don't get the first blood if you're rooting for Excel, you do end up getting out that shell, which is very, very important in this matchup in particular, because the focus of many of these early game Krakens is probably going to be on CobbY on this Sylvanus, and he was probably very much relying on that relic to keep him alive in that scenario. So once Sir Falsalot is able to hit level 5, I expect he and the rest of Excel are going to be looking right for that tree with the Kraken.
Excellence has definitely got to play it pretty safe now that that shell is down until the cooldown is up on it. And at the same time, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I think, for them to try and not take on those fights because their composition relies pretty heavily on trying to get the advantage early on. And there we can see the Bacchus belch and the stun setup for the Ullr. That's a lot of CC control coming out into that dual lane.
Doesn't do a lot of damage to Lyzurrr at this stage in the game, but as soon as Ullr is able to finish off his boots and or his transcendence, it's going to be a different story. Bloakley actually choosing to jump when there's 3 members right in front of him here in the middle lane. Going back to this Ravana in the jungle, it's just so odd as Sir Falsalot actually uses his purification despite knowing that the pull from CobbY was on cooldown. Ravana is just one of those characters that feels really, really great in the jungle even when you're ahead, but if you fall behind, it's one of the characters that feels the least impactful in the early to mid stages, which is where he's really supposed to shine. So Excellence really needs to worry about making sure Maloaise is getting the necessary amount of farm to keep it ahead and make an impact.
But now with the beads down on Sir Falsalot, it opens up, and Ravana trying to put chase onto the Ullr early on. Lyzurrr following up, but it could be enough damage. He's gonna beads, try and get out of it, and Ravana giving chase, but not enough.
The bladed arrow is beautiful though from No Compromise. First blood goes the way of Excel, able to turn it around on the gank. A little bit unfortunate there for Excellence. If Lyzurr's level 5, that's an easy kill onto the Ullr, but the timing just a little bit off there for the red squad. Excel started off with the first blood in the dual lane.
That's just one of those instances where as Ravana, if you miss your ultimate initially and don't get to apply the damage from it, you should just fall back at that point in time. You got the beads out of the Ullr. You didn't really need to give chase and take a tower shot there, but well played by Compromise, utilizing his beads at the proper moment and actually turning the table situation in his favor.
Bloakley looks like he used that Ragnarok in the middle lane while we were riding along with that duo side and his purification beads, just looking down the side of Excel. Every single relic's on cooldown for a significant amount of time outside of that teleport there for Hercules in the solo lane. Excellence is a great time for them to try and play aggressive, and you really have to play aggressive around Maloaise. In the middle lane, Chang'e in a little bit of trouble here as Olliieee tries to jump onto him. Love the idea there from Excel, knowing that the rest of Excellence was going to the speed buff, but now they might be in trouble. CobbY's back, finds 2 with the knockup, and Bloakley's gonna fall very quickly. Kraken gonna put a little bit of damage back onto Eribiiax, but not quite enough to deter Excellence from continuing to push down this middle lane. Free pick onto Bloakley there. Good rotation back in from the jungle right behind the enemy team.
Kraken was enough to keep Olliieee alive though and deter them from trying to pursue that situation, because with the Sylvanus heals coming through, more than easy enough for Excel to go ahead and try and find the upper hand in that scenario. And it looks like Compromise is finding the upper hand in this dual lane as he solo kills Lyzurrr, and that's just not a situation you want your EDC to be in.
I mean, on the other side though, for Excel, that's the dream situation, right? I mean, you're playing Hunter, that's what you play so well, Taco, and you're used to getting this sort of lead. Hold that thought on the right-hand side. WRLDedit gonna get plucked back into tower. No, rather help his team try and follow up onto CobbY, who was plucked back into the tower. Ollie's gonna find Mango Man with the belly flop, and a great pull back from the Hercules secures the kill onto CobbY. 4-1. Excel off to an early start here on both sides of the map.
Really starting to snowball a little bit, and if Excellence aren't careful with the pacing of the game, they could find this one running away from them, especially considering that Excel's composition really takes off in this early to mid game stage, and they look like they're really wanting these jungle invades pretty heavily. They're going to go ahead and secure that blue buff, which is a strong compromise. I mean, you always want your Hercules to have as much experience in blue as possible, and it's really going to be limiting the Cabrakan's choice as far as how much lane pressure he's able to exert.
Both of these characters really need the blue buff out of the solo lane. Cabrakan to make sure he can use his tremors as much as possible, and Hercules because he just has very high mana costs across the board, and that Hercules was actually able to seal away both speed buffs. The invade was happening for Excellence, steals it away with the boulder, secures it for his own jungler, and then Maloaise was trying to do his own after that little skirmish on the right-hand side. It actually falls just to the second ability. A little bit unfortunate for the warrior jungler for Excellence. Going back to this dual lane side, though, I mean, you get the early first blood if you're playing Ullr, you're in a good spot, and then you're able to find the solo kill onto the Olliieee. That's a big boost of confidence that you can really try and push that lead with, especially with a character like Ullr.
Ullr is certainly a character that you would ideally want to find that early game advantage on. His abilities are already going to be packing a punch now that he's got the Bluestone and Warrior CobbY online, and he's probably going to look to opt into building that Transcendence, which will just be another massive power spike. So this could be really difficult for Lyzurrr to try dealing with in that duo lane, and most likely what will end up happening is Excel just looking to exert a lot of pressure into this duo lane side and potentially siege an early Gold Fury.
I mean, what do you do if you're in Lyzurr's position here? You already got soloed once. You watched your jungler die to the first blood. Does he need jungle help at this point, or can he play passively enough to kind of hold on until the rest of the team can come and support him?
The nice thing about Olliieee is that you never really get locked out of the lane. You can always utilize your one to bounce it off of the walls, and sure, you might only be securing 3 creeps at a time, whether it's the archers or the melee minions up front, but at the same time, you're guaranteed that farm, and so it'll be difficult for Ullr to just straight out lock him out.
Great ultimate there from CobbY, gives him the CC immunity he needs, and Bloakley's gonna be the first one to fall, though Sir falls a lot, makes him pay. CobbY's gonna fall to the Kraken. Maloaise is here. There's the ultimate. Mango Man locks in the mid laner and pushes him down immediately, making that Cabrakan pick work out of that solo lane very, very nicely. The chase is still on for Hercules right now, but the rest of Excellence seem content to do the Gold Fury with their 5-on-4 advantage. Mango Man still trying to zone it out, but Compromize is a level up on him. I'm surprised that Excel isn't just trying to fight him.
They do have the Olliieee ultimate still available to their use, but Hercules still has his boulder as well, so this could really go either way if Excellence aren't careful, but WRLDedit could potentially find himself in an awkward situation. Looks like he's gonna get out just fine.
Compromise gonna take a little bit of damage there from Mango Man, but doesn't have any sort of sustain like Excellence have. Excellence really do want to take these extended engagements like we're seeing right now because they have a great early game healer in Sylvanus and an excellent mid to late game healer as well in Chang'e. Chang'e not as much as say like Aphrodite or Hell or something like that, but I think teams start to really underestimate just how much that heal is going to do already right around 1300.
And combining that with the Sylvanus sustain that you're going to have guaranteeing at least half your health is going to be restored each time these engagements, and if they keep dragging on the way that they have been, Excellence could find themselves putting their footing back into this game.
Well, Eribiiax in the middle lane, that's a tough one to say, though I think I just nailed it. I don't know why I'm calling myself out. I think I just killed it right there. Off to a pretty good start on the Chang'e, 2-0-0 right now, and Chang'e notorious for how poor her early game is, how little pressure she brings to the mid lane, especially up against a character like Poseidon, who's excellent at pushing down the lane. Even if he's a little bit behind in experience, is a good spot for the mid laner for Excellence, though I don't think he knows this Gold Fury is going on. He's gonna find out right now. Is over the wall, comes that Ragnarok. There's the Moonlit Waltz, but it's not gonna be enough. Sir falls a lot, makes him pay. 1 kill goes the way. Kraken just there to make sure CobbY can't walk any further up. The sun's coming down, doing a lot of damage in return, though, as Lyzurrr trying to get his support out. He will not succeed in that venture, but it buys enough time for Maloaise to get here. There's the ultimate over the top, trying to find the kill onto Bloakley, but Bloakley gonna be able to run away, and a nice axe from Compromise ensures his escape.
Very well played by Excellence there. They went ahead and unleashed the Gold Fury, which they were bursting. They probably could have committed to that, but the safe decision with the Olliieee ultimate being available is actually to just find yourself attacking the Chang'e all together as a team, one unit, and they're able to pick up the CobbY Sylvanus because of it, and overall just really good unit play coming out of them.
Love this play from Mango Man over here into the solo side, really making WRLDedit pay. There's a lot of damage onto him. The ultimate is there, but it's not quite enough to finish off the enemy solo laner. Archers won't be enough either. WRLDedit trying to bait in the Cabrakan, but Mango Man sniffs it out, no problem whatsoever. Really taking it to this Hercules in the solo lane, about a level up right now. That Mark of the Vanguard really being a big reason why you see Mango Man be able to tank up those archers and minions with no problem whatsoever.
Having a little bit of fun there with the Tremors, just consistently clearing out the wave, but at the same time not being as concerned about the Hercules free poke, because he's able to utilize his kit to where he can also peel for himself off of the Hercules. So if Herc opts to use his driving strike, he can hit him right back with a stun. You
see in the jungle here from Maloaise, Taco, Ichaival, second item, trying to make sure he gets that early game power spike. There's the Ragnarok onto Mango Man, trying to get him underneath the tower, but it won't reach as Bloakley going to get knocked up and stunned right away. He is able to jump out because of a nice Kraken there from Sir Falzalot, hits multiple people. Eribiiax going to be the first to fall there. Chang'e eats her second death in quick succession. Maloaise has rotated in around the backside, but not going to be enough to make anything happen for the red squad. 8-3, Excel still in the lead in kills.
That's still an ideal situation for Excel as well. Even though they had to expend the Fenrir ultimate as well as the Kraken, at the same time, picking up the Chang'e is a huge kill because that's a large portion of the sustain and setup coming out for Team Excellence.
Without a doubt, and you can see Sir Falzalot really starting to get ahead in this build. He's up 2 levels, 3-1 and 3 on the mid laner. The Krakens have been pretty good overall, a little off the mark on one in the left side jungle, but that one was absolutely on point. Looks like he could be going for the Spear of the Magus, though I suspect that's going to be a Divine Ruin second item, which I love. It's a good power spike right now, gives you 80 power. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, but you get a little bit of penetration, but most importantly, up against this composition for Excellence, it brings that anti-heal.
Another important factor is we already see the Pestilence coming out for the Hercules, as well as Bacchus, who might potentially be opting to build another Pesty just to ensure that no matter how split the team might be in these engagements, somebody's always providing a decent amount of anti-heal. That way, Excel can go ahead and utilize their burst damage as much as possible.
Started to talk about it a little bit before that engagement, but the Ichaival second item here for Maloaise in the jungle on this Ravana. How do you feel about this pickup?
Ravana jungle, it's probably best to opt for this Ichaival because of the fact that if you're going to be playing Ravana in that jungle role, you're just looking for damage at this point in time. You don't really want to worry as much about trying to pick up an early Frostbound or something like that, because you just want to look for burst, especially considering that you have a Chang'e and Sylvanus for setup already to get free reign auto attacks off. So it's probably just safer to opt for the Ichaival in this situation.
Also pretty cheap, an excellent cheap power spike for the jungler. And then on the Hunter side, we see a slight difference in builds. No Compromise has gone for that Transcendence that we expected out of him, but an Ichaival in response from Lyzurrr as Bloakley jumps into 3 members. No fear whatsoever for the blue jungler. He's gonna find the pickup, and then there's the Kraken from Sir Falzalot, but no one falls except for him. Maloaise is there, picking up the enemy mid. Bloakley trying to run away, but a great ricochet stun onto the Fenrir is gonna allow the mid lane Chang'e to finish him off. Team Excellence starting to really take it to Excel in this jungle.
That's just one of those circumstances where you don't want to commit so much onto the Chang'e. Compromise forced to use his beads, and he's on the run now, not able to really find any kind of escape. The Ichaival shining through, and Cabrakan's going to go ahead and clean him up.
No stun there from the Bacchus, and there's 4 members still chasing down the remaining 2 for Excel. WRLDedit's pretty tanky, but he's got a lot of damage coming his way very, very quickly. Look at the attack speed out of that Ravana already, courtesy of that Ichaival. 3 for 1 in favor of the red squad. Excellence taking the lead back into their favor ever so slightly. The Gold Fury is started up. Mango Man trying to zone away the enemy solo laner, and the ultimate will do just that. No boulder for the Hercules. He does break the walls, and Sir Falzalot's back, which means it's going to be difficult to do this Gold Fury.
But it looks like WRLDedit could potentially lose his life over that, but instead Bloakley gonna jump right in, force them off of this Gold Fury, but he could go down because of it, and he does. Maloaise picking up the kill onto the Fenrir, just not a situation you want to jump into.
Just 1 by 1, Excel going in. WRLDedit manages to escape, but you can't say the same for the jungler Bloakley. Already 4 deaths on that Fenrir early on, really starting to fall behind in terms of farm. Excellence is going to be able to secure the Gold Fury right at the 15-minute mark. Gives them the first real lead in this game for either squad, right around 2,000 gold. This is a problem, though, overall for Excel, because even though the gold lead isn't too big and the experience lead also not particularly substantial, it's difficult to fight into a healing composition that has a lead because they're able to sustain up so well through the fights.
Healing compositions are problematic as is, even when they're just even, but to give them a lead, especially fighting into it the way that Excel was doing there, that was probably their biggest mistake, was going in one by one into Team Excellence. So even though they were delaying that Gold Fury temporarily, at the same time, they're still providing experience and gold by just dropping time after time for no reason, really. That's just one of those moments where you should recognize the objective is going to go down and just look to pressure other parts of the map. Maybe pick up a tower in that T1 or in the solo lane, because you know that that's not really an area that anybody's going to be in since everybody else is on the other side of the map, and just really putting themselves at a bit of a disadvantage.
Well, Excel is able to pick up that Portal Demon in response, so a little bit of gold going their way, a little for at least a while, and they have use of that teleporter. But really looking at the level disparities, that's where it's starting to really show up. You can see Mango Man was 2 levels up, so probably around a level and a half, and right as he pings that 2-level mark. But it's Maloaise in the jungle, 3-level lead. That lead in the mid lane is completely gone for Sir Falls-a-Lot after that last engagement. And Lyzurr's really caught up in that dual lane, though he's in some trouble right now, but immediately the Poseidon just gets blown up. No peel for the mid lane mage, and he's gonna be the first to fall yet again in the team fight. Bloakley still trying to play aggressive, but the rest of his team isn't on the same page. He's trying to run away now, but the ultimate over the wall from Maloaise, still trying to find him, needs to find that Piranha Onslaught, but can't find the Shadow Fist either. Still trying to dive this tower, very low. Bloakley will escape. Oh, no, he won't!
And he won't. The Chang'e is there to secure it.
Great play out of the mid lane mage that time. This time, Olliiee's trying to get away, and he will not be able to. Mango Man locks him down with that Nerd Rage Cabrakan, making it happen out of the solo lane. And again, it's just one by one. Excel seem to go in and fall without really the support of the team. Not really working as a unit right now, and Excellence is, and it's showing in the gameplay.
Excellent gameplay indeed, and you can tell the Kraken trying to fight back into it, but no one is going to die. Look at all that sustain.
So much sustain. The meditation coming out from Excel isn't enough. Tier 2 tower still getting siege down. Nice pull on to WRLDedit. Immediately into the CC chain. Nowhere for him to go. Maloaise picks up another kill. 11-9. Excellence starting to really pull away in terms of kills. Back in the lead for the red team. But the problem for the blue side, Excel, they're falling behind in gold by quite a bit. Now up over 5,000 gold in the lead is Team Excellence. And like we were just talking about, Taco, I mean, it only gets worse up against healing compositions like this.
It's going to keep getting worse too, as well as considering that Excel are still opting to go in one by one. And as long as they're going in one by one, it just provides so much of an advantage for Team Excellence. Not to mention the target focusing has been really difficult because Excel was relying on the Fenrir pretty heavily to just be the unit jumping in, engaging, and getting out. But since Bloakley actually ended up falling behind to Maloaise has actually been able to provide a solid peeling unit as backup for any time that Bloakley tries to dive onto this Chang'e, and all the immunity from her 2s, plus the immunity on the Ravana. It's just so difficult for them to try and lock anybody down, and that's why we keep seeing Team Excellence just squeaking out of these, re-healing, coming back into the fights, and just wiping Excel. It's
to take an old term from my FPS background. They're pulling the bait and switch a lot. I mean, Robin's going in really deep, then getting out very low, and then all of a sudden it's Eribiiax coming in really ready to go full HP, and you never even saw him starting to dive your tier 1 tower. Excellence really working together as a unit. And like you mentioned, the peel has been excellent, utilizing these 3 tanky characters very well. Look at Maloaise just chasing down Bloakley, and then the overhead kick to get out of the Ragnarok. A stylish play there out of the jungler. Bloakley forced back yet again, still 3 levels behind his opposition in the jungle. Mango Man just free to knock down the solo tower with no pressure whatsoever. Excel starting to respond now, but it's too late for that tier 1, trying to defend the tier 2.
This composition is just entirely too tanky at this point in time. Excel are really on the back foot here. It's going to be difficult for them to try and lock anybody down, and you can tell the peel is just coming out so strong, and Olliieee could actually find himself in a really bad situation here.
Nice Intoxicate though from the Bacchus, but the Kraken just doesn't do enough there for Excel. The rest of Excellence still fairly healthy. WRLDedit doing what he can deep into the enemy backline, but there's Eribiiax Eribiiax still healthy and ready to go. Lyzurrr shown up, and he's ready to brawl as well. There's the pluck back onto Maloaise with the overhead kicks available to get him out of any sort of danger. No compromise. Locked in by Mango Man, trying to zone out the rest of the team. Mango Man taking a lot of damage, and a great pull back in from WRLDedit, but there are the Suns from Lyzurrr. And so many good ability usages by Excel, but just no one's dying for the red team.
So much tankiness coming through for Team Excellence. They're just able to survive, and the Chang'e ult is huge! 3 down, Ollie's going to fall because of it. Compromise gets out barely, and actually looks like Olliieee might have just escaped for the moment, but WRLDedit is in a world of trouble right now, and he's going to go down to Maloaise.
A quick use of the Caster's Curse gets Olliieee out of danger, no problem whatsoever, but it's not going to do the same for this right side Phoenix, I don't think. Excel, no chance to defend this one as it falls at the 20-minute mark, just before 21 minutes. And again, no one from Excellence dies. And usually when we see this sort of thing happen, Taco, where a team with healing like this is able to just snowball through these team fights without any sort of recourse, it's because of the lack of anti-heal on the other team. You really can't say that for Excel. They've got plenty of anti-heal. They've got the Divine Ruin. They've got a Pestilence as well. There just hasn't been enough damage, really, from anyone on Excel.
They already fell too far behind so early on that now, even though they have that Divine Ruin online, which has really been helping a ton in poking out Team Excellence, at the same time, because of that, they're unable to really lock down any burst damage, and burst damage is what you need at this point in time, but the Kraken just isn't hitting hard enough with the Bacchus Intoxicate and the flops, and not to mention the excellent hi-rez ult that came out from Lyzurrr that really deterred Excel from pursuing off of the 3-man Bacchus flop in that T2 tower.
Absolutely. Excellence working together very, very well at this stage, and it's showing. All 5 members have that Fire Giant. Both teams still looking for their first point here in the relegation process. This is a very important one for both squads. Don't want to go down 0-2 early on, especially when only the top 2 teams move on to the SCL. And there's only 4 teams competing for those 2 spots. Can't really afford to take 2 losses right back to back.
And as if Excellence didn't have enough sustain already, now with the Fire Giant regeneration online, plus the buffs included, it's going to be really difficult for Excel to try and hold them out of these Phoenixes.
Left side, it does have a tower still remaining, and no rituals picked up quite yet by Excellence, so there is a little bit of hope for Excel to try and defend a Phoenix or a tower. They aren't down by 10,000 gold quite yet. That's usually the really scary mark, and they haven't reached it quite at this stage. But, I mean, look at how tanky this Chang'e is. Just tanking up a tier 2 tower, doesn't do anything, doesn't even hit it. Doesn't really matter. She doesn't take any damage.
No care in the world whatsoever, just walking freely wherever they want to at this point in time. And you can tell Excel's making the smart play here, just falling back and waiting to try and fight into this Phoenix engagement.
Well, they're going to have a tough time doing so. Eribiiax right into the front line, trying to get a little poke. There's the blink in from Mango Man, and Sir falls a lot, already falling very, very low. Maloaise trying to chase down the mid laner, and he will do so successfully. Kraken never even finds a mark. Phoenix still trying to go down as Mango Man just tremoring the ground, taking quite a bit of damage, but it doesn't matter. Maloaise jumps in once more, along with Lyzurrr, who actually gets pushed into the fountain. That's one way to get around healing. You can't heal that damage off as Compromise makes the enemy hunter pay once more. Left side Phoenix does eventually fall. Took a little bit longer without Lyzurrr there to assist, but Excellence, they're gonna have an easy time sieging this down until Bloakley gets very, very low. One more hit's all that's necessary. The egg is buying him a little bit of time, but not quite enough as Eribiiax reaches deep into that fountain and is able to find the kill. WRLDedit almost pulled 2 more back into that fountain once more.
But it looks like No Compromise is gonna pick up the slack, and he's looking to try and get a couple of frags here right before the game ends, but it's just too much too soon. Fire creeps are gonna start pouring in very soon. They've got to be careful here. Even with the mid Phoenix still remaining, Excel could find themselves in the back end of this if they're not careful. And there's the cooldown. The Cabrakan ultimates with the Chang'e. There's just no getting out of that one.
So much damage from the Guardian out of the solo lane, but I don't think Excellence can end quite yet. Without Lyzurrr, it's going to be difficult. Nice moonlit waltz there to get Eribiiax out of any sort of a danger from that driving strike. Middle Phoenix still stands, and Excellence seem like they want to stick around here, but that could be a mistake, Taco. I mean, there is 4 up here and a lot of ultimates on cooldown for Excel.
There's also the potential for a rallying ritual to come through for Lyzurrr, but it looks like he's opting to just walk right up the middle lane. Sylvanus ultimate going to be expended here, but Compromise, just a little bit of poke damage, but we've seen how much that matters. Poke damage onto Chang'e, Sylvanus, not really doing a whole lot.
Eribiiax just doesn't care. He just doesn't care about any sort of damage that Compromise is bringing to him right now. Lyzurrr is back, And Ollie finds out the hard way. Mango Man's able to find the last hit, but a lot of that damage coming courtesy of that hi-rez. Maloaise comes screaming down the middle lane as well. And the rest of Excellence look to get their first victory here. Titan still not the focus quite yet as Mango Man pushed back into that fountain. Excellence seem a little bit more focused on the kills than the Titan. Bloakley is going to fall as Lyzurrr picks up Sir Falls a lot and no compromise. It falls to the hand of Maloaise as well. Finally, the Titan seems to be the focus for Team Excellence. Look to pick up their first win.
Again, WRLDedit traps Lyzurrr into that fountain with the pull and the driving strike. You think it would have learned the last time that happened, like 2 minutes ago, but
nah.
I mean, that at least he gets the style points for that one.
25 minutes, 10 kill advantage for Team Excellence. They take the fairly easy victory over Team Excel, who it was actually the blue team Excel that started off the game on the right foot, but the sustain just became too much for them to handle.
Just too many awkward engagements early on where they let the fights drag on a lot longer than what they should have, and because of that, it just ended up working against them.
Well, Eribiiax, he killed it on Chang'e in the middle lane, was not only there to immune the Krakens a lot of the time, but to put out a lot of the damage. Bloakley was certainly the focus early on for Team Excellence, always getting hit by that ultimate from CobbY, immediately followed up by the ultimate from Chang'e as well. Really, really solid play between the mid and jungle there for Team Excellence. And like you mentioned, Taco, it was just, there wasn't enough damage on the side of Excel to punch through all this healing.
And the CDR as well, a lot of people seem to forget, Chang'e isn't just a sustain bot as well. At the same time, you have to be concerned about how often that ultimate comes up, especially when you offer a CDR and a little bit of sustain, and just over and over and over again, these 3-man Chang'e lineup ultimates just led to the demise of Team Excel.
Chang'e starting to come back into the meta a little bit. Anytime Poseidon's meta, you start tinkering with Chang'e a little bit, trying to get her in there because she works so well up against the mid-mage. And that was the big thing for Excel, is that Sir Falls was finding good Krakens early on, but then was immediately turned on the focus, and it just fell apart for Excel very, very quickly. That's enough.